Yes, guys, welcome back to the Natural Muscle Podcast. Today's episode, we are going to cover the BNBF Midlands show. What a spectacle of a show it was as well. Here with both of our overall winners. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, so we had Rupinder Kera, the overall male, the winner of the novice category as well. Phenomenal package there. Rightly so, taking best wheels on the day as well. And then we had our overall female Paige Stainton from our figure category, taking the female overall on the day. But yeah, great way to actually follow on from the BNBF Southern beforehand as well. Same as what we're going to do in this show, just because of how things have kind of run through on the pictures from Carl putting them up, making our jobs a lot easier from actually going through the overall. So we're going to actually run it in reverse order. So going from the overall male, overall female, and then heavyweights, and then down to masters. So yeah, phenomenal standard. Rupinder, or the Natty Ru, as most of us will see on Instagram, coming home with best wheels and overall male, taking the title away from a previous winner of the BNBF Midlands overall. That's just shows the standard of what's there to be had as well. And there's some other athletes returning to stage, especially within the classic physique category. Up there, great shape, great condition, great muscularity. So yeah, it's to be coming home with the overall on this day. It just shows that these guys, these novice competitors, may not have stepped on a stage yet, first time on stage, but been training, been putting the work in for years, and yeah, it purely shows, especially with them quads as well. Great package, and I'm sure this will improve as the season progresses. So, what are your thoughts on the overall male Rue then, Finn?
Yeah, the Midlands, as we know, is historically probably the best show qualifier the BNBF do, and it always has been. For some reason, it just always attracts big numbers, good athletes. I don't know if it's location, I don't know if it's proximity to the finals and other shows and other feds, but it always does it's historically the big qualifier, and it's a bit of a statement if if you win your category, but if you win the overall, I mean, going back the last couple of years, winners have been like some big names, like Sam Lowe won it last year, and he's gone on to win a British. Um, I believe Theo may have won it a couple of years ago. So the one of the last time I went, 2019 was a really good one, and Solomon Onola. If anyone remembers him, he's not competed since that year, but he actually ended up winning the overall BNBF British that year, and he won that show. Really high standard again, and he's always really high standard level of athlete. So for Rue to win it in his first show, not just he's a novice, it was his first ever show. A lot of muscle on a smaller frame in terms of height, but absolutely thick muscle head to toe. Another overall winner with ridiculous quads. So we had Dan Sutcliffe at the Southern. Now we've got Rue here. So the Northern being tomorrow at the time of filming, hoping someone's got to get some freaky quads as an overall winner, because you've got to keep the tradition. And just a lot of muscle on a young looking frame. I don't know how old he is. Luke might know. But he's a very mature athlete already in terms of his muscle mass. And he as a novice competitor, you really struggle to see how someone's going to beat him in any show, really. So in terms of finals, he's up there, not just for his British title, but like the overall, like the sword and pro status. He's very much could be throwing his hat in the ring, and I believe that's his next show. From what he was saying, he's just going to go straight through, so he's not doing the Heart of England novice show or anything like that. And yeah, brilliant athlete, and like you say, it was a very deep lineup and a high quality. And from my memory, I might be wrong. Someone can message in. He hasn't been a novice winner at a BNBF show for, I think, 3-4 years maybe. I think there was one at. I think there was the last one. There was one at the Scottish a few years ago. But he was one of these that like never competed ever again, like, and he just disappeared. But he was absolutely sensational. I can't even remember his name.
Huddersfield, actually. And I know who he is, but I've forgotten his name as well. He'll come back to me.
Jordan, Jamie, something like that.
No.
He literally just like no one heard of him. He didn't really have an Insta, and he just rocked up. And I remember he was unbelievable, like absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then he just never competed again, basically. So yeah, really, really high standard, and it was just unfortunate whoever was in Rue's novice lineup, because again, we've talked about the novice before. Like, Rue really isn't novice in terms of what he looks like, but in terms of his, he is a novice, obviously, because he's never competed before. But in the novice, you occasionally get people like this, and it's just one of those where it's like, you know what I mean? So, as I say, incredible guy.
Very good. I think it's Michael. Pretty sure it was Michael who came from Huddersfield, did the Scottish, took the overall. Pretty sure of it. But yeah, phenomenal package by Rue on the day. And then our overall female winner on the day, also the winner of the figure category, Paige. As you can see, just phenomenal structure and shape for figure. Probably room to be a little bit more conditioned coming into the finals as well. So yeah, expect to see improvements come. But yeah, with figure, especially within this federation, don't want to come in as hard as nails. Otherwise, it's probably marked down upon. But I think overall, like, great level of fullness, muscularity, and condition and shape. Like, shape and structure there, very well balanced from head to toe. Great set of calves, quads, delts, like arms, like very, very good structure. I'm rightly so, and beating some good competitors in the day. Because we even had the previous, I believe, 2022 or no, in fact 2023 overall winner of the BNBF Midlands show, Sophia. Actually coming third in her class, which we'll get onto it shortly. So yeah, to be pipping someone who's already previously won the overall, and placing the overall in the show. Yeah, hats off to you, Paige. And I'm sure we will see you coming into the finals as well. And yeah, want to be beaten for sure.
Yeah, with Paige, clearly, we put the post up saying that, her frame, her, shape is figure. Just, it is. So she's going to be another high contender at, future shows, finals, and if she does any more feds. So yeah, in terms of like what people are looking for from figure, like, realistically, she is it. It's one of them where I think my audio was just started again.
Yeah, I think apologies for those of you watching, and the audio is a little bit off there from Finn's side of things. But yeah, we'll keep you going through the review as normal from there. But yeah, appreciate you and patience and putting up with us there. But yeah, as Finn was saying there, like, structure and shape is absolutely bang on. And what you're looking for as a figure athlete within this federation. So yeah, Paige is kind of ticking all boxes there, and I would say within this class, which we'll get onto in a minute, within figure, like, you could see a couple of them places flip flop around, some having stronger points than others, but all yeah, everyone within that class having great attributes and great shape and muscularity within that figure class. And then we come on to our would be the last class of the day, the heavyweight winner, which is Theo Golab. I'm sure many of you watching and listening will know Theo, previously winner of the overall, the BNBF Midlands. So thinking away, but you're a little bit gutted to not be walking away with that, which is fair to say. But I also believe he's kind of left some in the tank to do his absolute best comes towards finals and other shows to come, likes of the UK, the FBA, and the WNBF potentially. And yeah, with having a high amount of muscle mass as Theo certainly does carry. He doesn't want to kind of like run the risk of running flat and losing and sacrificing tissue when it's going to be a long season for him. But yeah, winning his class. Invite to the finals as expected from Fia and bringing a phenomenal package is kind of what's expected, really. Only two in his class. But Junaid, who we've seen before, he actually did the MBW earlier on in the year and got back into a bit of a kind of an improvement phase and coming back into these shows and then towards the latter end of the season and previously competed in 2022. Huge improvements made. Just unfortunately up against probably one of the heaviest muscled natural athletes you're going to get put up against. So yeah, coming behind Theo, I'm sure he can't be too disappointed on the day, and won't be surprised if he actually falls into the middles coming to the finals, because I know back in 2022 he was in the middles with yourself, wasn't he, Finn? Clear to see that he's put on a decent amount of muscles mass since then, but I'm sure he'll be on the cusp of that. So interesting to see where he lands coming to finals. Same with likes of Dan, who was in the Southerns on the cusp of middles, probably falling into lightweights come finals. So yeah, don't be surprised if some of these kind of categories and placings kind of change around coming into the finals, really. Then onto our middleweight winner, which was Daniel Probst. Apologies if I am butchering that name ever so slightly. But yeah, overall, probably quite a tough class with here. Wouldn't be surprised if things like flip-flop around for the top three on the day. But I think, yeah, overall, had the best package out of the top three on the day. Good level of muscularity, good condition to boot, and then shape and structure very well. And like, it seemed very well balanced, like top to toe, really. And that's what you kind of wanted within the class. Didn't really have any kind of like massive like gaps. Definitely areas where we can bring up, as everyone can bring up there. But yeah, very good package brought to stage and done well to beat the top the other two athletes coming in second and third place. For instance, Jake Hamilton, like huge amount of muscle mass there. Great condition as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of this cording, like I say, when it comes to finals, things do change around on there. But yeah, looking at the front shot for Daniel there, like very, very good front double, and yeah, kind of stands out within the shot over the other two athletes on the day. And then Fabian there, yeah, good shape, just not quite as hard as I'd say as the other two athletes, but certainly not as hard as Daniel in the middle. So yeah, rightly so, coming home with the win on the day. I'll see if Finn's back in with his audio fixed in. If not, apologies once again if had some trouble there.
Yeah, hopefully. Is it any better?
Mate.
Very not at all. Not at all.
No, we're good for now, I believe.
All right. Okay.
A little bit of crackle, but I think
right. Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know what's going on anymore with this, because on other things when I use it, it's fine. Obviously when I use it for my own coaching, it's fine. Yeah. It just seems to be when we do this. Anyway, yeah, so good to see some international athletes coming over. I know a lot of German coaches like doing BNBF shows. Probably started a couple of years ago. I think Jan Frisser brought a few of his guys over to the Northern when we did it, and they really enjoyed it. Really good stage experience. As we both said, the BNBF it's such a good federation to compete with, and the Germans, I don't believe, have too many shows to do as naturals. Obviously, for Natty Feds, they've got the BNBF Germany and they've got the Evo Classic, and that's about it from what I'm aware of. So I think a lot of them like to do, obviously more shows and to do the old data collection shows. So a lot of them tend to come over. I think there's going to be a couple doing tomorrow at the Northern as well. From what I've seen, a few people have tagged it in. So. And famously last year, well, I know he's not German, but an Italian, Matteo, won the Northern overall last year and was a very good value for that victory. So yeah, a good free. And just to go back on to Theo, obviously didn't get to talk about that. He's a returning British champion, so he doesn't necessarily have to do a qualifier, because in the BNBF he qualified for life. But doing the Midlands. He's an ex-champion at the Midlands, and he wants to throw his hat in the ring and again do to win a big show like this. And this is the biggest and best Theo we have seen in terms of muscle mass. And when he gets even more conditioned, which he's going to do, he's going to be the man to be across multiple federations, you'd imagine. And I'd love him to get the sword this year, or even some sort of pro status, because I think he does deserve it, and he's been knocking at the door for several years. I mean, I think he's won 3 or 4 overalls in his career already at qualifier level. So, and he's got a British already. So I think realistically, he is very deserving of pro status, and I hope it's this year, because he's a really nice bloke as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Finn said there, it's definitely up there with having a pro standard and pro level physique, but doesn't have the pro status there. And it's one of these athletes who'd come back, multiple British titles, multiple overalls, and it's having that behind yourself rather than just the pro status. I'm sure he'd rather have that behind his locker in his locker anyway. And the lightweight winner of the day, very, very conditioned, particularly through the upper, cross-striated in his pecs, Dan Jenkins. Good luck. And I think he did look well in the overall, just obviously not quite as muscled as the winners on the day, but nonetheless, I think a very, very good package brought by Den. Pretty balanced from top to toe. So yeah, I think it was rightly so, winning the class on the day. I think between in the top 3 as well, Ismail coming in second on the day. Rightly so as well. Good package brought by him. Just not as hard as Dan or quite as muscled there. And then Ben, I do think there was quite a clear gap between Ismail and Ben on the day, but nonetheless, very good package brought and very good top 3. And I'm sure all these athletes are going to bring it and come in even more conditioned coming into finals. So I expect to see all these athletes improve and just see the standard improve as we get towards the latter end of the year and towards the later shows as we see year after year. But I thought Dan overall, great package, good level of fullness, condition, muscularity. Not seen him compete beforehand. So don't know if he has competed beforehand. Didn't know if I recognised the face, but
So I was going to say, so Dan he was a top 5 at the juniors at the British in 2022. In fact, all 3 of these are returning. The top 3 were all returning guys. So Ben has competed with BNBF quite a few times over the years, and I don't think he's competed in several years, because I recognised his name, and then he on his profile he was saying he's coming back after a long hiatus. So so the stage is always fair for people, and You know, you can dip in and out and have many years off and come back improved. Ismail was a men's physique competitor several years ago with the UKDFBA. He won an overall. I want to say 2019, maybe even that far away. It might be 2021. The years do muddle up a little bit. And he's gone away. He's come back. He was always a big lad. He had a really good upper body for men's physique, and he was like a at national level, really very good. But his improvement in the legs, AJ, his coach, basically just I believe has said, look, let's just do a bodybuilding show, because obviously the BNBF don't offer men's physique. And then keep dieting, obviously. And then I think men's physique is still his focus for the future shows of the season. But he's a very good open competitor. He's got a lot of muscle mass head to toe, so it'd be a bit of a shame to hide those legs away, because he looks really good. And like I say, Dan's one of those, I would probably say, that being a lightweight as he is, when he was in the juniors at a British level, looked very good. And he's improved since, but it's one of those where, because the juniors is obviously no weight, you can be some big guys, as we've seen before, like Zach Daniels, like James Alabaster, Keefe before he went pro, like a lot of these juniors, Sam Lowe from last year. A lot of these juniors are heavily muscled, and some of them would be, when they go to the Open, would be either high middles or heavyweights. Will Chitcham, another heavyweight who was a junior until recently, and so Dan probably was one of those where you put him in a junior lineup and he looks great, and it's just like, okay, there's just bigger guys, and that's just unfortunate, because there's nothing you can do about that in terms of like people just being heavier in terms of their frames. Well, then you put him in people and everyone's a similar weight and he stands out. So that's what's good about carrying on with things. If you see, you've done an age group category, or you've done even a novice category, like we've said before, with novices, there's no weight cut off in a novice unless it's a big class, and then they might do a light and a heavy. So you could be a 65 kilo novice, or and second place might be 85, and it's like, or vice versa, or whatever. So it's tough going sometimes, particularly with these juniors, because, as we know, we're all big lads. So yeah, great to see Dan coming back improved. Great to see all three of them coming back, because it's good to see people coming back to the sport. So I do think, Dan said his next show is finals, and he's just obviously aiming to get tighter. So again, another really competitive lad entering finals, and finals will be a very high standard.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, great package by all three of them. And yeah, I'm sure we will see all three improve as we come into finals as well. Then through on to women's bodybuilding, and a face we've definitely seen before, Ali Ross Willits. So yeah, taking the win on this class, just the two in this class. But yeah, Ali's someone who's, like, in terms of muscularity, has improved massively since last stepping on stage in 2022 with a partner who we've had out previously on, Mark. But yeah, particularly through like the upper body, like that great muscular. Arms have developed like a lot. Same with the quads as well. And rightly so, like winning this category. Someone who had like a good level of muscularity before, when she was in the athletic class, which is also done on the same day as well. But yeah, like really good improvements in it, and it goes to show, if you put your work in the off season, you can step up a class, and you can make solid improvements and come and actually win another category on the day as well. Almost one that's kind of like grown out of the category. But yeah, fantastic improvements, good level of muscularity. I know it'll be probably a long season for her, as it will be with Mark. So I expect her to come in even harder coming into finals. And I'm sure it's a face that will keep popping up as we progress through the season. But yeah, very good shot. Very impressive through the side shot as well, the side chest. But also up against Jennifer Hill, who was very sharp, particularly through in the upper body. Good level of muscle mass and condition. Just probably outmuscled by Ali on the day, I'd believe as well. But yeah, very, very good standing. And it's good to see multiple people actually competing within this class. And I think particularly not just the actual women's bodybuilding class as a whole, but like women's bodybuilding itself is getting more eyes on it now, getting more interest to it. And I think we should have hope to see multiple athletes compete in the Northern within women's bodybuilding, which is really good to see, and seeing the sport grow, but actual bodybuilding itself grow. But yeah, happy with just even though there's two there, very, very good standard to see, and yeah, exciting to see what's to come and see this class improve coming to finals. Year after year, it's getting more eyes on it. So yeah, awesome to see.
Yeah, Ali, British champion in 2022 in athletic, and a very good champion to boot. So yeah, I think she's just probably dabbling in bodybuilding mixed BNBF or letting women do both. It's the only, we don't let the men cross over, but it's because, you know, Vicky wants ladies bodybuilding to continue to grow. So we let, you know, on the day, everyone just have a go at it basically if you want it. So obviously Ali did athletic earlier in the day, and then she's done bodybuilding, took the gold. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, what she decides to do at finals, because she's suited to both. Obviously, if she gets a bit harder, a lot harder, she might continue obviously the bodybuilding, because that's what they're kind of looking for there. But if she just gets a touch more condition and then stays there, obviously it's that more conditioned figure look that they're looking for in athletics. So it'll be interesting to see where she goes. But obviously the feedback will be imperative to that, what Vicky and the other judges have kind of told her, particularly with athletic being one of Vicky's classes, and something that she does keep a good eye on and give good feedback to. So yeah, really good to see Ali back, and obviously she competed with Mark, who will feature in just a little while, and she's improved a hell of a lot since 2022. So it just shows you, it's the whole point of keeping time off, particularly as a female, because it obviously takes a lot longer for serious muscle mass to build on a natural female frame, but it can happen for sure. So yeah, great to see her back, and a good victory here, because like you say, second place, very conditioned. So I'd hope that Jennifer would be continuing with her season, because she's clearly got a lot of talent, and on another day, not against an ex-British champion, you probably come away with a victory there.
Yeah, absolutely. And hope to see both of these two stay within this class coming into finals as well. And I'm sure, like, as Finn's already mentioned, like Vicky allows like a cross transfer within female classes, just to get obviously more people to enter women's bodybuilding. And I think, yeah, great way to do it, and great way to get more eyes on the sport. And then we go into our men's athletic class. So this is kind of as close as Vicky allows it to get towards men's physique. Not quite classic. I know like kind of quite a bit of similarity within it, but just slightly longer shorts, but not quite ball shorts for on the day. As close as it gets. But we know it's they have it at DFAT Worlds, and they get a lot of eyes on it there. So that's, rightly why they continue to do it. But yeah, Christian Hawkins, our winner of this class, took some inspiration from straight from the table, from Vicky as well. So yeah, if some of you guys have seen that on social media, not sure if Vicky will have seen that, but yeah, if you want to take that from the inspo or not, rightly so. But yeah, good package from Christian for on there. I'm sure he's someone who likes classic bodybuilding as well. So whether he'd want to actually step in towards that class or not, you can use the opposing similarities on there. But overall, yeah, best winner on the day within this class. Someone who we've competed before and he's improved. He's been knocking on the door on his first win, I believe. So I'm sure he was buzzing with that on the day. And then quite a mixed bag across the board in terms of the actual class and structures through on here. I could say it's probably more. We've got Steve Link in third place, like heaps of muscle, just lacking, like it just doesn't have the condition as the other two. And rightly, I'd say he's probably in the wrong class here. Not sure if Steve's actually competed beforehand, but I'd definitely say he's more suited towards a bodybuilding class. Not sure in terms of like where he'd actually fall within that. Very, very dark with his dark as. One to actually say as well, particularly for novice competitors, dark as is probably one of the only tans, like self application, but probably one of the only tans, and I'd even say even for someone paler like yourself, that you still don't need to put 2 layers on, because it is, as it says on the bottle, it is dark as. And you can probably do yourself a bit of a disservice with kind of double layering it up there. So if Steve, if you're watching this, I'm sure you'll let lessons to be had from that. But yeah, then we've got Renell in second place through on there. I think it's very close in towards that crossover between classic or not. I don't know whether people thought this was the classic class, because it's very, very similar. It's hard to kind of differentiate the two, especially as we're progressing through that, and classic is obviously growing. But there's not a kind of like men's physique class. We used to see it like previously a couple of years ago, be very, very close towards that men's physique side of things. Whereas now, we're seeing it is a lot closer towards classic. I wonder what your kind of thoughts is on that as things have progressed within this kind of class really fit.
Yeah, I'd definitely say the first year or two that Athletic was in the BNBF, they had quite a clear criteria in terms of the people who were doing it looking a certain way, and now more people are doing it, which is great. I think realistically, if we're being honest, all three of these are bodybuilders or classic. For what they originally wanted from Athletic, and I think they still do want, realistically, from what the judges are saying. And they said on their judges' table video about the Southern is what we're saying. So we're not. This isn't being negative or disrespectful to these three guys, because they all look very good. What it's saying is when these three guys come out, they've got a place based on who the best, person is on the day. Doesn't necessarily mean that that person was the best for the class, but like if someone came out who was, had the criteria for Athletic but was soft and not as big as Christian, could you place them ahead of Christian? This is the great conundrum kind of thing. So Christian, in my opinion, is classic and very, very classic and very good. So it'd be great to see him in a classic lineup going through as the seasons went. He actually did PCA Naturals earlier in the year, and I think he came fourth or fifth. And we did comment at the time saying that he had a lot of potential. I remember that. A really good structure. So I'd like to see him continue and continue pushing the old classic. And like you say, Steve, particularly in third, loads of muscle here, loads of muscle. So I think, mate, get some trunks on and get in a bodybuilding class, because you clearly got a lot of size. And then similar to Renell, very classic, probably suited to classic more so than Athletic. So I think realistically, it's one of those where if someone enters on the day, the judges don't have a clue what anyone looks like, because you're not sending your pictures in. But maybe it might be one of those where, I don't know, in future they just say, look, like we have a clear separation. If you've got a decent classic frame, we have the classic category now. Whereas when Athletic started, as Luke said, classic wasn't a thing with the BNBF because they only started it last year. So I don't know what the solution is. I mean, would you want to drop it off as a class altogether? Clearly, people are wanting to do it, so it'd be a shame. But I think it's one of those where maybe after this season they have a bit more of a clearer definition of, in terms of, okay, if this is the kind of person we want to come and do Athletic, particularly. But as I say, they can't not reward someone as good as Christian when he comes out, even though he might be more suited to just doing classic. But yeah, great victory for him, and be interesting to see if Vicky has that conversation with him for finals and says, look, like, you might be a bit more suited to classic, but if he does Athletic, he probably would be the favourite firmly going into the British, because he's very good. He's a very good bodybuilder, and like you say, second and third, both good, got good frames here, get a bit sharper, and those placings could change around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest kind of take home as well from like this one and this class is, and it kind of, well, it relates for any class really, is like read your actual class criteria and see where you best fall suit and be subjective to your own physique. That's going to be the best one, because you may actually be the best bodybuilder on the day, but you may not be the best there for the class, and you sometimes you'll get rewarded for it, sometimes you may not. But it's not to say you're kind of like a not a good bodybuilder or not the best bodybuilder there. You just got to be the best there for the class on the day, and you could just be entering the wrong class. And then we go to Miss Athletic, Ali Warner, someone we've seen before. Very, very conditioned, very peeled. Saw it in the MBW. Mentioned then, very good condition, particularly for a female athlete. And yeah, coming in just as sharp on this show, and rightly so, winning the class on the day, and that's what you want in the Miss Athletic class, and what we've previously seen from some of the winners beforehand, the likes of Beth Hills, who's come in very, very sharp within this kind of class, and rightly so. That's what's expected within this category. Slightly sharper look than figure, but similar posing within there. And yeah, Ali Warner looking very, very solid in for the show. And I know it's been a long season for her. I'm not sure if she's kind of reversed out prior to coming into this show, but yeah, it'd be good to see her coming into finals, because yeah, definitely up there for throwing your hat in the ring and being up there from taking a British title home. And up there within a very good class, beating a British champion, as we mentioned before, of Ali. I know it's going to be a longer season for her, and probably arguably going to get in more, going to come in more conditioned, as we've seen it beforehand. We know it's there for her, and also like Becky Squires in third place. Great shape, good amount of muscularity there. Just not quite as conditioned as as our winner on the day. But yeah, shape and structure there. Like Ali, like obviously we know it's definitely fitted into this category, because yeah, walking home with a British title back in 2022, very well suited for this class as well as the women's bodybuilding. So yeah, interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, quite a standout within this class, particularly on the condition side of things. Ali Warner, and it's a class that rewards conditioning. So yeah, rightly so, taking the class win on the day.
Yeah, I think this might be Ali's first place of the season. She took a class at the MBW and PCA Naturals, I believe.
Yep.
And like we said when we were talking about those two shows, like she is, for me, the most shredded female I've ever seen, bodybuilder wise, of any category, well, in a natural federation, of course. Yeah. So you can't not reward that. So when she steps on into a class, unless she was just completely not within the criteria of the class, so like, I don't know, like bikini, let's just say she's clearly too conditioned and too muscular for bikini, but unless she's stepping into a class which she's obviously shouldn't be doing, you can't not reward that level of condition, because she's got aesthetics and muscle to go with it. Like obviously we've said before, being shredded is great. If you haven't got aesthetics or muscle, then it's not particularly good. In terms of, you're going to get beaten by guys who actually have those. So condition helps if you've got the muscle and the frame to go with it, and she clearly does. So as you say, mate, for what they want out of Athletic, I think she's almost the textbook definition for like what the BNBF Athletic look is in terms of that condition. Obviously, I can't really, and no disrespect to anyone else, I can't really imagine another athletic girl can bring that level of condition that Ali can. Clearly, she can just do that Chris Palin level of just go somewhere where everyone else just cannot or dare not. Because I bet she's in a lot of pain. So she might not thank you for saying diet for another 5 weeks for finals, Luke, but she'd be great. And I'm sure if she does carry on, yes, it will have been a long season, but I'm sure she will get firmly rewarded. And great to see Becky in third because she just missed out on an invite at the Southern. And then she's come back, tweaked a couple of things, and then got the invite for this show. And I'm sure we'll see some of that tomorrow at the Northern. There might be a few people who are a bit disappointed at the Midlands in their respective class, and they might think, okay, can I get a little bit tighter? Can I, change something with maybe the peak or whatever that might be, or the posing? And then you turn up in a different lineup, and you might get rewarded on that day. So that's the thing with qualifiers. It's always been one of those where, if you just miss out and there are more shows, keep going. Like, unless you're completely at your wits' end, keep going, because on another day, with another lineup, you can get that invite. And ultimately, as I've said before, finals is what matters in reality. So, if Becky, no one will remember if Becky places top 2 or 3 at the British. No one will remember didn't qualify the first time. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Get the invite, because there's 5 weeks between now and finals. A lot can happen on across the board. Like, people who are favourites can drop out of prep. People who are favourites can go backwards. You can improve. So this is the thing for all people who are doing the qualifiers. Just keep going. If there's another show within, and it makes sense to do it, and you just missed out on the invite, and you think you're good enough, crack on. Let's go. But yeah, a very good top 3. All 3 of these girls have been. Ali's won a lot of shows this year. Over Ali is the next British champion of the say, and Becky has been a podium finisher at the British herself. So yeah, a really, really good top 3. And considering this was another smaller class, it's one of those where sometimes just because this class is small does not mean that the quality is not there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we go through into our novice class, and also our overall winner and best wheels winner of the day. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, it's clear to see that is best athlete on the day for there. Phenomenal look by Rue, and rightly so. We're taking the class win and overall on the day, and yeah, stupid set of pins on him there. And yeah, a very, very good look. And I'm sure he'll be up there knocking on the door for getting not just one, but many British titles this year. So yeah, novice guys, watch out and make sure you bring it if you got a battle with that. Yeah, sorry, mate. And yeah, very, very I think it was biggest class on the day. Novice is just tend to be like that as well, and which is great to see, because this is guys that are either new to the sport or knocking on the door and haven't quite made it within the top 3 places beforehand, and it's great to see. And these are kind of the new up and comers of the sport, people, new faces into the sport. And what tends to happen is there's always one within this class who's just an absolute standout, who's been training for years, like Rue, stupid amount of muscle mass and gets great condition as well. But it's also great to see like a good top 5 within there. Like, what we tend to find from like towards the top 5 is people who will have like strong body parts, some like stronger than others, and then as you're coming in towards that top 3, good balance, some with very, very good poses, and some kind of like topping one another based on conditioning. Likewise there, particularly like Chris Edwards in 3rd place, very good conditioning. And to also do a peak back to back peaks. I know he said it was quite tough leading towards this show, but yeah, rightly so, brought it there, and could be pushing for actually coming in top 3, coming British finals as well. But yeah, I think great class here. 2nd place winner, Admelos. Great amount of muscle mass there. Also in classic trunks. Do think based on his frame, he could definitely fit in towards that class as well. If he comes in like a touch sharper, definitely be up there. And also Ryan Hale and Gregory White, 4th and 5th. I think this was quite close actually, from 4th to 5th, in terms of what I actually heard on the day. Good battle up there, and rounds off a very, very good top 5 on the day. But yeah, as you can see here, quite a standout, which is fair to say, with Rupinder there. And I'm sure none of the athletes within this class will mind saying that. Just, yeah, very, very good athlete. And someone I'm sure who will take many wins as we progress through the season.
Absolutely. I think his next show is finals, so as I
Yeah.
say, he's got a bit more time to get sharper. And like I say, I think he's definitely a firm favourite going into there, unless we see another freaky novice guy tomorrow, which we very may well could do. And the Scottish always produces a few outstanding athletes. So yeah, with Chris, he was speaking to us on the page in the messages. He did say that he was a bit disappointed because he feels that he could have been a bit better because he was just a bit tired. Which is, back-to-back peaks are hard. I've done it before, and it's not easy. You come off like the big high, the adrenaline dump, and everything else that comes with show day, and then you kind of got to reset, reassess, and sometimes people can get harder for the second show, and it actually benefits them. Or sometimes people can go a little bit backwards or feel a bit tired because you're not training the same, your routine's a little bit off, you've got to travel, particularly if you're traveling a long way, which I think he's from Wales, so he's probably travelled a decent amount to come to the Birmingham show. But yeah, very hard luck. Arguably the hardest person in the whole show from what I saw. So yeah, he's very, very good. Like I say, good top five. And what we expect outside of Rue in first place, you'd probably say second to fifth was exactly what you see from a novice. All shapes, all sizes, stronger body parts, not so strong body parts. Good, a mix of condition, a mix of size and all these kind of things. So that's it's what you see in a novice, and it's one of those where I always like the novice category when you see it like that. It's all these different shapes and sizes because if the person keeps at it and fills in the gap that they might have, they're going to be a good open athlete. And like Luke said, biggest class of the day. I think there was quite a lot in this class. In the mid-teens, high teens, I believe. And this actually leads on. I'll bring it up now. So Loic sent a question in. Loic actually did the Midlands last year. And that was a wacky middleweight lineup last year. So yeah, if you go back, scroll back and try and find pictures of that top five, because that was ridiculous. Anyway, he was asking, what's our opinions on classes being split if the numbers are high. I mean, he said 8. Any more than 8 in a class? Do you think they should split that up? Because he felt that because he was there, the novices were a little bit. He felt like might have been a bit rushed in terms of having a good look at everyone. So it's an interesting question. I mean,
Yeah.
For me, I think 8 isn't enough. I'd say probably if you got more than
Teens or so, probably.
11, 12,
Mm.
yeah, a dozen I think would be fine, because you can do 2 call outs of 6. And you have a good look. And from what I heard, they kept the novices on for a long time, like they did at the Southern, because again, the Southern was the biggest class of the day for novices. So yeah, in my opinion, I'd probably want a higher number before we quit it off. Because again, with an 8, if it's say there's 9, then you end up with a 5 and a 4. So you might as well just do the 9. So I'd probably say more, but I'd certainly say, yeah, if you've got something like 16, 17 plus, maybe you think, well, is everyone going to get a good look at it? It's quite hard to compare. So you might want to do a light and a heavy, as happened when we did Northern. I think there was 20 odd, didn't it? Weren't there, the novice? Because they did light and heavy.
I don't think so. I believe at the Northern, it wasn't actually the
No,
North.
they did.
I think it was just at
They
finals,
did.
or was it Northern the
No,
light?
the Northern we did because in the overall there was 2. There was Con and
There was, there
Sid
was
and
big,
another
yeah,
lad.
yeah, big fella in the heavyweight side, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I think it just all depends in terms of the actual one, the number of competitors and the quality there as well. Because they're kind of like firm but fair, particularly within the BNBF, to rightly award someone from the actual standard that is there. Because then you've got to think it's like someone who's actually falling outside of this top 5 would then actually be awarded third place if they split it on the day. So there's arguments for both sides, really, isn't there? But yeah, it kind of depends in terms of the standard there, and I guess you won't know until they step out on stage. But when it comes to finals, probably there's going to be a higher number of athletes there. and they'll kind of know what the standard is. So if there is like a high amount of novices, they can rightly so do that. But yeah, it's one of them. I think they all get, like, particularly with BNBF, you rightly so get your stage time there, and you rightly do get a look in. Sometimes things may be a little bit rushed, but BNBF is particularly not a federation where you really rushed, particularly we're doing like the pre-judging and the evening show. So you're there for a good amount of time, aren't you, with these shows? So I'm sure these athletes felt they got a decent amount of looking in. But yeah, tough one to say really with that. But yeah, I mean, moving on, I was actually going to mention this, from novice to classic bodybuilding, and what you will see is some of these athletes come back years later after stepping, after being in the novice classes, and then coming back, whether you would come back in open bodybuilding or you come back in classic, as Anthony Campbell Jr. has done, previously a novice bodybuilder in 2021. I believe he got a second place in his qualifier, and then came in at third place in the British finals. Very, very good top three, particularly that was in the with UKDFBA in 2021, against Elliot Gibson in second and Lewis Jones in first place. Very, very good top three. Thought when this guy was coming back, he's definitely going to be knocking on the door. Because yeah, great structure, as you can see there, great set of quads. So like what you want from classic, and still would be a very, very good bodybuilder in a bodybuilding class. But yeah, great shape, great presentation and flow for classic bodybuilding, and rightly so, winning the class of the day. And not just that, pipping a previous British champion within classic bodybuilding, Mark, as we've mentioned before, who actually came third within this class. But yeah, very, very good class, top three, and good package from Ant. And yeah, I definitely expect him to come in sharper, because we've seen him sharper at finals beforehand. So I'm a very, very good package, but expect to see this even more improved coming into finals. But yeah, great look for him, and I'm sure he was happy, because I believe it was his first win there. But yeah, very, very good. We even had the top four award in there, but right to say that the from third to fourth, quite a clear a gap there, and which you'd expect really from a previous kind of British champion. But nevertheless, Dominic in fourth place. Great structure, great flow, and I'm sure as he comes in harder, he will be knocking on the door, even for kind of a top five placing coming into finals as well. Mark, as we previously mentioned before, long season for him, more shows to be coming, and I'm sure he's now just a case of, yeah, wanting to come in even sharper coming into finals. And then Simeon, very, very good package brought, but yeah, just rightly so, beaten by Anthony on the day. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be one to look out for within that kind of like top three coming into finals as well. But yeah, awesome top four, particularly the top three within this class.
Yeah, classic. Since the BNBF brought it in the last 2 years, has been really high standard in all BNBF shows, and their finals was unbelievable. The people doing it, and this was no different. Like the top three, really good. Like you say, next champion in Mark. I know he was a bit disappointed in terms of coming third, because he's an ex-British champion, but ultimately this show for him, as he said, was I need the invite. That's all that matters. So again, as I was saying about the people who carry on, again, the same with that. Getting the invite is what's important, ultimately. So we've seen it before. Like last year, Alex Mackay came third, fourth at his qualifier, and he wins the British. Yeah, and it just shows you, like, yes, it's great to win, and it's good memory to have as if you win your qualifier, but the British is the big one. So that's what Mark's outlook was. So he's not. We know this isn't his final form. So, but he still looked very good. He still shows the improvements that he's made in this year and a half off season. And when he brings his trademark condition in a few weeks' time, he will be a very, very different caliber, I can assure you. Simeon, interesting here. He did the middleweights at the Southern, and he missed out because obviously that was the class of the day. He missed out on the placing, and he looked really, really good. And he was probably just breathing down the neck of James Alabaster in fourth. And on the judges' table, we said, like, they mentioned him specifically. They said, look, this guy is very good. He just ended up in a very freaky standard of qualifier. So he's clearly took that on board and gone, right, I want to do another show, but he's maybe thought, okay, I want to try my hand at classic. Maybe he prefers it. Maybe he's got more of a classic kind of vision for what he likes to do with competing, and he's taken a very good second place. So it just shows you again, like, sometimes you can be very unlucky in the lineup you're in, and then you can bring it back, and 2 weeks later a different qualifier. But like Luke said with Anthony, it's great to see. It's one thing I love to see in bodybuilding is people coming back after a few years away, and you see the improvements, you see the changes, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what we train for, to improve, to grow. And Anthony was a very good novice, like you said, and he's a very good classic guy. I saw his coach Zach put a few clips of him up in the days leading up to a show, and my first thought when I saw his physique was like Kendall Richmond, so the American IFBB pro, who is an ex-WNBF World pro overall champion. Very similar in terms of the shape and the muscle bellies. I don't think Anthony will mind me saying Kendall's probably a lot bigger because he was a heavyweight back when he was in the WNBF. And yeah, that's what I thought when I saw him. So that's quite a high compliment to make, and I think he's firmly thrown his hat in the ring to say, I'm the man to be at Classic, and I think Classic's already shaping up to be a very good finals, because obviously James, who won the Southern, was high level, and obviously you've got three top guys here, and obviously Dominic in fourth getting an invite as well. So yeah, good quality across the board in this class, and as I say, Anthony for me was when I first saw him, because obviously he was on before Rue and Theo. I thought, an overall contender, and I'm sure he was probably in that conversation for the overall with those two. So yeah, very, very good class, and it's great to see Classic growing as we knew it would, because it's a popular class. So again, looking forward to seeing who does it tomorrow at the North.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just to mention again, like through from Simeon, like, yeah, done another class, and like coming back at another show and getting his British finals invite. And yeah, as much as you say he was a bit unlucky with the last showing and the class he was in, probably even if he stuck with middles, could have been knocking on the door for taking the win in the middles on the day. So yeah, it's even if you want to go again in the in bodybuilding rather than instead of just sticking with classic, it's definitely up there. Definitely fit into both classes, mate. And then we go into our figures classes of the day. So Masters figure. Bronwyn James winning this class, I believe. It was just a 2 in this class, wasn't it? Yep. And yeah, in terms of like the shape there for it, good structure there for it. Good to see it, especially for a Masters competitor. Good level of conditioning coming through as well. Particularly more heavily muscled in the lower half, which you kind of see within some of the Masters kind of figure competitors. But yeah, good overall package, and good to see. And it'd be nice to see if she actually steps back in and does the finals later on in the year. But yeah, rightly so. Beating Susan on the day. Just best overall package in terms of conditioning, muscularity, and posing as well. Like, definitely hit her shots very, very well. And Susan just kind of missing out through on there from a good winner of Bronwyn on the day. But yeah, good to see.
Yeah, good to see Masters figure actually having people in, because at the Southern they were very disappointed to see no one did it. I believe because they've announced the running order for tomorrow, there are some women doing it, so we don't want to see these classes die out. So yeah, great to see two people doing it. Two very decent Masters figures competitors. Like you say, Bronwyn probably just has a bit more of a figure frame. Is it the difference between her and Suzanne in second? And you know, that's figure is largely frame dependent, as we've discussed several times. After or not as muscle, a figure frame will win the day over you know, someone who might have that little bit more muscle when you are a little bit more condition. But yeah, great to see Masters figure being populated at this show, because it was a bit of a shame to see no one do it at the Southern.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we go into our figure and also our overall winner of the day. Yeah, going back to what Finn said there, largely carried in this class by structure and shape. And obviously, yeah, muscularity and condition and holding your poses definitely helps in this. And Paige is, yeah, definitely someone who has done that on the day. In a very, very good class as well. Very, very good top three. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of a change up coming into finals. I'm sure these athletes are definitely going for finals and up there with very, very good. And be right to say, wouldn't be surprised if this is our top three come to British finals as well. Particularly with Sophia previously winning the overall in the Midlands show last year. Lucy Hilton there, great shape, great structure, good amount of muscularity there as well. I'm sure it was quite a tight one with this as well, because all three of these athletes having the strengths, the weaknesses in there, but all of them carrying that great structure and shape, which makes for a very, very good top three within the figure class. But yeah, I think in terms of overall, Paige just had that best overall kind of like ticking all boxes: relay, shape, condition, muscularity, structure, and just enough to kind of edge out of the other two athletes on the day. But yeah, would not be surprised if we can see improvements coming out of all of these athletes coming in towards British finals. Right to say as well, Sophia come in more condition before, particularly when she took the overall title. But I think she's had a couple of kind of like niggles and injuries to like she's been dealing with. So like just to actually make it to stage was a win for her on the day, which is great to hear. And hopefully she kind of gets on top of things and absolutely nails it come to finals. But yeah, very, very good top three within figure, and it's good to see. And this class tends to bring quite a lot of kind of attraction, particularly within BNBF, and always to very, very good standing and always good shapes. And sometimes you will see like a crossover from our figure athletes stepping into women's bodybuilding, and we hope to see that come to the Northern as well.
Yeah, as you mentioned last year, that's exactly what happened with Zena, who won the pro card, who won the overall, did figure and bodybuilding, and rightly took a very well deserved overall then. So yeah, there's no reason why Paige or any of these top three, because like you say, it was a very good top three, couldn't have half an eye on the overall at the British. And yeah, like you say, shout out to Lucy in second, because she's technically a junior now. The unfortunate thing, outside of bikini, in some federations, there's actually no junior class for women, which they might be, you know, start your own petition, girls, because clearly, you know, we've had Abby earlier in the season, we've had some really good junior aged figure girls doing these shows, so you know the talent is there, and it's just showing that historically this was a class that was a bit more suited to girls in the later 20s and the 30s, because obviously you've got that muscle maturity, you've got more muscle on your frame. But clearly showing now that girls can get into it a bit younger and succeed very, very well. So yeah, really high standard top three. And like you say, for Sophia, you know, an overall winner of this exact show last year, and didn't do finals because of an injury, I believe, and then still suffering a little bit with that this prep. So, you know, we know that she could be very dangerous if she gets fit, gets healthy, and can bring her A game to finals. So yeah, this could be the top three at finals. Very, very, very well could be. And three standouts. And like I say, I know my audio cut out when I was talking about Paige at the start of the show, but you know, like I spoke about her, you know, her frame is, you know, very, very close to what a judging panel would want from a figure girl, and lots of muscle. She made a debut last year she PCA first timers, and now she's stepped into the natty arena, and she looks like she will do very, very well. So yeah, a high standard top three here.
And then we are through to our junior bodybuilding, and an athlete we have mentioned before, capping off the end of his season for Harry after quite a long season for him. I know he previously mentioned this beforehand, and rightly so. Probably his best luck. I would say very, very good luck as well. Particularly in I would say particular within natural bodybuilding. Coming first place within that class, you've got to nail the look, because junior bodybuilding, she's growing. It's always up there with not just the number of athletes within there, but the standards growing, and we're seeing it within teens now as well. Like stupid athletes coming into the sport very, very young, but having good few years training experience behind them. But also the knowledge is there in comparison to what you saw like a decade ago. And it's great to see, and it's great to see the standard that people are starting this sport with it now as well. And yeah, rightly so. Harry winning his class on the day. Don't know if he's stepping into the assisted realm. So Harry, if you're watching this, give us the confirmation of that. But yeah, great shape and structure if you are doing so. But yeah, hope to see you in the stay in the natty realms. But yeah, all the best if you go on the other side of the sport. And yeah, I'd say through on here, great top three. And I believe Anthony in third place, someone we've seen before compete within BNBF and other juniors. I'm pretty sure I've seen him compete before. Not sure if in a top five beforehand. Someone can let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's competed within the BNBF and within the kind of top five mix beforehand. Good amount of muscle mass there as well. Good conditioning. Not as heavily muscled as Max in second place. Stupid amount of muscle there, particularly in the lower half quads. Very, very, very impressive to see, especially for a junior. And it'd be exciting to see what happened towards placings as you coming towards finals. Obviously, knowing Harry's not going to be there, and if you can come in tighter, definitely going to be knocking on the door for placings within the top three at the British in the juniors. But yeah, Harry, just best overall package, great conditioning, definitely surpasses the other two athletes in terms of like conditioning. But yeah, shape, structure, size, very, very good structure, and yeah, good amount of muscle mass there for junior, and rightly so, rewarded and capping off his season on a high.
Yeah, Harry's done a long season, placed top three at all of his shows, and he's done pretty much everything that you probably want from a debut season, particularly as a junior. You know, laid your marker, got a couple of victories, very, very good potential, and he was saying that I think he must either just be 20 or be turning 21 later this year, because he said that he's going to take 2-3 years off and he'll still be a junior. So I think he's on the younger end of a junior, which makes it all the more impressive because he's got quite a mature physique. So he said his goal is to come back still as a junior in a couple of years' time. So with more improvements, I told him in the messages, it would be pretty hard to beat as a junior with further improvements. So yeah, just comes to show. But as we were saying at the Southern Review, sometimes people don't continue on, and it's a shame. But people have reasons, various reasons. Life gets in the way, stuff, trips, holidays, weddings, everything in between. So it just shows you again, like I was talking about earlier, getting to the finals is the main thing, and then when you turn up on the day, see who's there, because someone as good as Harry will not be there, and I think he would have been a favourite. But then you've got someone like Max in second, who you get sharper, and we could be talking about you as a thoroughly deserving British champion, because the size is there, the aesthetics are there, a touch more condition, and you're a British champion. So and Anthony similar in terms of getting a bit sharper. It shapes up to be a good lineup. So yeah, this is the thing. Sometimes someone can dominate a qualifier and then never to be seen again, and it's certainly it's good to win, but the British is, I keep saying it, the British is the main one, isn't it? So yeah, another good junior lineup here. So Harry is placed in some really high standard lineups. And the people who have beaten him this season, people who have gone on like Julian, he's now a WNBF pro. Sarab, who is a very, very good junior in his own right, and then he's taken the 2 victories at the BNBF. So as I say, Harry is a very good junior, and it'd be great to follow his off-season improvement phase and to see, as and when he comes back in the future, because he's got the frame for it. So we, keep going, mate, and I can't wait already to see, what you might bring in a few years. Like I say, in terms of the juniors, this is always it, isn't it? Like they're the men's open of the future. Some of these guys, they come back after a year or two, like Dan did in the lightweights earlier in this show. And you're taking victories in the open, and that's why the juniors is always heavily contested, because some guys are at open level already. And as we saw at the Southern, James Alabaster, for example, tried his hand despite being a junior. So it will be interesting to see if James doesn't do juniors at the British. He may or may not. We'll see. So like I say, it's shaping up to be a very good lineup already.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it would have been almost the talk of the day in the teens if it wasn't for the Natty Roo's stupid quads. But yeah, our teen winner of the day, and not 1-9 in this one, is actually 16, I believe. FA, phenomenal physique. Stupid amounts of muscle. I'd actually say he's better crab than me. And yeah, I'm almost a decade older than him as well. So yeah, very impressive to see. Regardless of age, actually like winning the teen class, and a very, very good teen class as well. That is to be said. But yeah, a stupid amount of muscle mass there, and very impressive to see, particularly from a 16-year-old there. But I heard it was quite a close call between first and second place, and Leon, who is actually brother of Lewis Emmanuel, in second place. I think it was quite close between the two of them, in terms of like quite different physiques between them as well. Quite shapely and tiny waist on Leon. And I'm sure it'll be quite a good battle if we see these two kind of come and battle it out coming into finals, because yeah, but very, very impressive physiques. And overall, it's this teen class is one that is growing, not just in size and number of competitors again, but the actual quality we're seeing like across the board. It's just getting better and better as qualifiers go on, as the seasons progress, as the years come through, which is great to see young lads getting into the sport. But young lads also like coming into the sport with a lot of years and of good training behind them, good knowledge around nutrition and great physiques coming to stage from the early years, which is very, very good to see. And then Simon there in third place, like you would say a couple of years ago, probably winner of a teen class there, but yeah, just up against some phenomenal athletes. And then Michael Bowers there as well. Yeah, good physique for a team class, just up against some three very, very good athletes and just missing out on the top three there. But yeah, shout out to FA. Great, very bright future in the sport. And yeah, just keep going. And I'm sure you're inspiring a lot of, I'd say, young athletes, but also a lot of athletes a couple of years older than you, and people even into the open classes. So yeah, keep going, mate. Because yeah, what you're doing is very, very impressive to see.
Yeah, like I don't know how much more you can say about the impressiveness that is FA. Like at 16, he could have a 3-year off season and still be a teen. And 3 years more development. Like what does that look like? It's mind-boggling, really. I'm gonna hang my reputation a little bit on the line here and say, I would not at all be surprised if in many, many years to come, people aren't looking back maybe at this episode and listening to us talk about a future Mr. Olympia competitor or even Mr. Olympia placing, because that's how much potential this this young man has got, half my age, which makes me feel particularly old, and looks this good. That amount of muscle, and he's already competed twice. He competed last year as well. So he's done 2 seasons by the age of 16. It's incredible, and these teenagers are not a joke anymore. Like it never. I mean, it never was a joke, but these guys are serious competitors and serious bodybuilders. And Leon, chasing down his brother's legacy before Lewis left to go to the assisted side of things. Lewis was a fine teen and junior. I believe he was a teen.
Big Finn's just cut off just there.
British champion. I believe it was in his own right, and very, very similar to Lewis, his older brother in terms of the shape, the frame, very classic. And Leon has a huge future, and so does Simon in third. Like a lot of muscle there, and if you saw just him on his own and said, "Oh yeah, well he'd come third at a qualifier as in the team category," you must think, "Fucking hell, like what standard is that class?" And even Michael in fourth. I know he's not got the invite there. I can't see the goal at the envelope at least. Like really good competitor. He's just highly unlucky, right? You've rocked up at a qualifier with potentially like future like Mr. Olympia, like Leon who's very good, and Simon with a ton of muscle. Like it's just unfortunate. So all I'd say to Michael again, a bit like Simeon, maybe if you can do another show, mate, like we might see you tomorrow, or do another qualifier because you're good enough. You're clearly good enough. It's just that on this day it was a freaky lineup, and if FA does not fulfil his potential in the sport, then it would be a great shame, because he's got the world at his feet, quite literally. I just can't comprehend like how good that is for 16. Like for a 19-year-old, would be like, yeah, that's amazing, but for 16, that's just incredible. So whatever you've been eating and doing, it clearly works. So well done, and a really good teen class. And I think we've said this every single review, haven't we, Luke? Like the teen class is such a good standard. So finals will be very exciting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very good. And it's a good way to kick things off as well, because this is quite early on in the day from the show, and it just sets the bar and the standard very early on. And the same with coming to our masters competitors as we'll get on with. So we'll go from those who've been training the most amount of time to those that have been training the least amount of time. And both just as equally impressive in their own right. And then onto the masters over 60s, and 2 in this class. But yeah, Garrett Ebanks, and I mean, like I just said before, very impressive to see like over 60, a competitor over 60 years of age having this level of muscularity still. So I imagine he's had to carry even more muscle mass in the early years. But yeah, and also like getting into the shape and stuff, very impressive. But also having a good shape, structure, good flow. Great to see, even hitting one of his a bit more of a classical shot in the top 2 place in here. But yeah, very impressive to see, and inspiring to see that some of these guys just still love the stage and coming back and prove that they can still do it. Very inspiring. And then we've got Paul Fopp in second place. Huge amount of muscle mass in the lower half there, but just not quite as balanced as Gary, who took the win on the day. But yeah, very impressive to see, particularly from like a taller athlete, holding that level of muscularity, particularly in the lower body. Quads, good conditioning, particularly in the lower half, and yeah, be impressive to see. I'm sure these guys will come and do finals, because what we typically see is a lot of the Masters competitors love coming and they all put on a good show, it's particularly when it comes to the routines, and it's always a good watch, and it sets you up for a good day at British finals for BNBF. But yeah, Great to see, and yeah, a good standard with the Masters over 60s.
Yeah, I think you've summed up quite nicely. Gary is a very, very good over 60s guy. Incredible physique. And he actually got a picture with FA. So obviously he was the oldest at the show and FA was the youngest, and they took a picture together, which was amazing to see. And you know, he might have grandsons the same age as FA, as crazy as that could be. So you know, Gary looks fantastic. Paul is a competitor who he's competed quite a lot over the years. It's a face and a name I recognise, and it is always, you know, a good competitor for, you know, the grandmasters or ultra grandmasters as he now is. But again, on the day, Gary is a high level ultra grandmasters competitor, and at finals, I'm sure he will be the man to beat. However, as Luke says, like, I think maybe that's why the BNBF have them on at the start of the show, because if you're going to go to a show, stick around for the Masters categories, because they all enjoy themselves. They usually put on some of the best routines of the day. They get the crowd going. You know, they all have a smile on the face. You know, these are the guys, they've been doing it longer than we've been alive, mostly. So, you know, I think that's why the BNBF have them on first, and it always gets the day off to a good start. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Masters, Grandmasters, Ultra Grandmasters tomorrow, because I think it's certainly going to always be a high entertaining, high octane couple of classes, because they just love it. You know, they've dedicated a life to lifting, and now we get to enjoy showing the physiques off. So yeah, Gary, high level athlete, and just last class of the day in the next one, Luke, isn't it? Because we unfortunately didn't have an over 40s for whatever reason, which I've never really known them not have an over 40s competitor turn up to a show, which is a great shame.
Yeah, it's quite rare, is that? Tend to find it sometimes in the Masters over 50s, or the 60s might not have one, or they kind of like merge them in together. But yeah, the Masters over tends to be one of they always tend to have a good amount of good few competitors in there, and it tends to be very, very good standard. And as we saw previously in the Southern, great quality there. But as you can see in here, Paul in the over 50s, like that is probably up out there with one of the best over 50s I've seen. Great level of muscularity, good condition, good shape. Like, yeah, very, very impressive to see. Lower half, like that's out there, very, very good. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's a heavyweight, with the muscularity there, particularly in the lower body. And yeah, it might have been up against Brendan as well, who we're a seasoned competitor. Always comes in very, very conditioned, but just, yeah, Paul edging him there with just, yeah, stupid amount of muscularity in comparison. And it's probably one where you'd think, like, stood alone, like just the comparison next to kind of Brendan just shows off the muscularity he does have there, Paul. But yeah, Brendan competed several seasons before. Always comes in very, very sharp, and yeah, done that again here, and just, yeah, missing out on just being against a heavier muscled Paul in first place. But yeah, very, very good class, and unfortunately no Masters over 40s.
Yeah, like Paul is a lot of muscle, potentially the most heavily muscled grandmasters. I won't say masters, because there's some big old masters over the years. One of the biggest grandmasters I've ever seen. Probably Andy Palmer is probably the only one who's, I'd say, is bigger. But he's a legend, you know. Andy Palmer, you know, has won everything. He's won Worlds, he's won Britishers, he's won absolutely everything over his career. So he's a bit of a one-off. So Paul to be in that conversation in terms of muscularity is very impressive. And yeah, if he sharpens up for finals, I just don't see how many Masters guys will be living with that amount of size. You know, and a very fresh looking physique. Like, you know, he could easily pass for late 30s in terms of how fresh his physique looks. You know, his quads particularly, because that's the only thing you can tell, like a grandmasters and like an older competitor. the physique looks a little bit weathered, and you tend to see it in the legs a little bit more. Like they tend to be a bit more, like I say, just look like they've been lifting heavily for decades, and you just tend to get that kind of weathered look on the physique. And it's not a disrespectful thing by any stretch, I mean. So to still look fresh is a testament to whatever his secret is. He's got a good hairline too, so clearly the genetics are there, Paul, for whatever, to stay young. So I'm envious, because I doubt I'll have any hair by the time I'm 50, never mind those quads. So yeah, really, really good, and a great way to open the show, and obviously a great way to end our show.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, normally would be over onto the Masters over 40s. But yeah, starting it off with the Masters over 50s on this one. As always, we appreciate you for listening. Apologies for the hiccup at the start with the audio. We'll try as best to ensure that is sorted for the next one. And yeah, we look forward to seeing many of you. I know you've been kind of following on as the season's progressed, because we'll be at the Northern this time. So yeah, look forward to seeing you there if we do bump into you. But yeah, please like, comment, share, and all that jazz. And we will catch you in the next one.